What's up guys, and welcome back to another video. So I haven't been doing videos for a long time now, but the season is coming up pretty soon, and I thought I was going to start making a couple of videos before the season starts pretty much. And today I'm just going to make a very quick video showing what I think are the top 3 tips that you should really think about when you're playing FPL this season. Because I started playing FPL just 2 seasons ago. I played some other fantasy games before, but especially last season, like I had a good finish, but I mean, I could have had so much better if I just followed these 3 tips pretty much. At least 2 of the tips. One of them I definitely followed. But let's get into it. So the first tip I would say is, when you make your team now, the first draft, and during the whole season, when you plan your transfers and everything, try to plan ahead. Don't plan like half the season ahead and look at 10 games, 15 games forward. Look at maybe 4, I think 4 games forward is a pretty good time frame to try to plan your team, plan your transfers. 4 to 6 weeks, maximum 6 weeks I would say. So when you build your first team now for game week 1, try to look at the fixtures for at least 4 games forward, and maybe even up to 6 games forward. So just the last thing you want to do when you, especially when you use your wildcard in the season, or when you build your team now from the beginning, is that you want to book in transfers already. So like for example, I have Watkins in my team. I'm probably gonna have Watkins in my team. He has pretty good games the first 3 game weeks, and then he has very difficult game weeks. And I know a lot of people are gonna go from Watkins to Jimenez in Wolves, because they have difficult games the first 3 game weeks, and then they get better games, easier games from game week 3 and forward. So they're gonna switch Watkins to Jimenez in game week between 3 and 4 pretty much. And I mean, even though that's a good idea, booking a transfer already before the season starts is never a good idea, because there's so much stuff happening. Like people get injured, players play out of position, players don't play at all. I don't know, anything can happen. Players can also get transferred because the transfer market is still open when the season has started. Anything can happen, so don't book in transfers early. Try to plan 4 to 6 game weeks ahead. Try to have a team now from the beginning, and obviously during the whole course of the season, where you can be happy for at least a couple of weeks, and then try to plan your transfers like, okay, this guy I want to have at least in 2 weeks time before you should have planned your transfer. Not make a knee-jerk move and just switching him to a player you didn't even think about just because the other player scored a hat-trick and your player didn't score a hat-trick. I mean, you just try to plan it a bit, and don't panic when you have a bad game week. Like that happened to me so many times last season, that I had a bad game week. I used my wild card in game week 3. My plan was to use it in game week 10 or even 16, the last time you can use it in game week 16 before you get the new wildcard. I use it in game week 3 because in game week 3 I have a pretty good, pretty bad game week, which everyone else did as well. Like I wasn't the only one, and you got so many penalties that game week. I think just that weekend was like 10 plus penalties over the Premier League. So I just panicked, used my wildcard, got all the penalty players in from my team. And for 2 or 3 weeks, I didn't get any points. I had Fernandes, Vardy, Kevin De Bruyne, who all scored big in those game weeks, in game week 3 I think it was. And then, yeah, they didn't score for like 2 or 3 game weeks more, and I started transferring them out. Like, it was so stupid, like, just a panic move, so don't panic. And this one I definitely follow. Like, I watched 75% of all the games in Premier League last season, I think. I watched so much football. But this is a really good tip, that make sure you watch games. Don't only watch like the results and just the highlights. Even extended highlights could be good, but I think watch the games, because even if you look at statistics, you can see expected goals, expected assists, how many goals they did score, how many passes they completed, anything like that, which is obviously nice to look at. Stats are always good to use, of course, but there are things that stats won't tell you, like how good the runs a player make is, or if it makes an offside goal. I mean, if it's offside, it's not going to come in the statistics because it's disallowed. But in the game, you can see maybe it's like this much offside, and he makes a super good run. He makes an amazing offside goal, but you're not going to see it in the statistics. So I think it's good to watch them play in real life. And you can also see like motivation in players pretty much, and if there are. If they are very confident at the moment. Like a very good example is Lingard last season. He overperformed his expected stats pretty much his whole spell at West Ham, and people who are really into looking at stats, like a lot of the big YouTubers and stuff, really love looking at stats, which is completely understandable. Some of them were really reluctant to get Lingard into their teams because they were like, okay, he's never gonna keep this up. But he did. He scored so many. He got way more points than the stats said he would. And if you were late on getting him in, then you lost a lot of points. And you can only notice that from watching him play, pretty much. So watch players play. And this next tip is the tip I think is the most important one, because this is the one that really kind of screwed me over a couple of times. Is that trust your own opinion. And like, if you try to plan the players you want to get in, you see a player, you're watching the games, you see a player that looks really, really good, or you have something in your mind, you have a plan in your mind. Okay, I'm going to do this for a couple of weeks, then I'm going to get this player, I'm going to get this player, or I'm going to captain him this week, and whatever you do, whatever your plan is for transfers, captaincy, when you're going to use your ships, whatever your plan is, try to stick with your plan, unless you obviously notice that it's probably going to fail. But especially with transfers, like if you have a player in mind that you really want to get, stick with it, go with it. A couple of times last season I had players in my mind, I didn't go for them, and the reason why I didn't go for them, which is you can see how I say, don't blindly follow others on social media, don't listen to other people too much, because people are always hyping up a couple of players, and it's so easy with social media, like a couple of players hype up someone, and then everyone just goes in on that. Look, even now when you watch if you see people's teams on Twitter for the Game Week 1, it's pretty much template for real, like everyone has the same teams, like bar 2 or 3 players, like it's ridiculous. And I mean, obviously some of these players are going to be great, but I don't think the whole team, this template team that everyone builds, is going to be a perfect team. Of course not, it's not going to be. But if you listen to what everyone says on social media, on Twitter, then you're gonna get caught up in it. I lost out on so many points last year when I went to players that I thought I wanted to, but I didn't go to because people on social media were hyping up other players. For example, Benteke, I was going to go get him for the double game week and have him because he had easy games. It was a triple game week even, and he had easy games after, or good games after. And I didn't, because everyone was solely focusing on Watkins. So I got Watkins instead. He got a red card after 10 minutes against United, so he didn't play the next game. He got nothing in the game after. While Benteke, I think he scored 3 goals in 3 games or something like that. Like, it was insane. Like, I lost out on so many points just from that move. So trust your instinct, trust your own plan, trust your own opinion. Definitely look at tips and stuff on YouTube and even on Twitter, but don't solely follow what other people say. Have your own opinion, make your own opinion. Look at stats, look at games. Make sure you understand what you're doing and you not just copy someone else. That's what I should have written here actually. Don't copy someone else just because of the sake of it. You're gonna regret it, definitely. Alright, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video.